So welcome everybody. My name is Dave Kirby, and I want to thank you for joining us today for a day in the life of a successful voiceover artist with John Kubin. Hi, John.
Hey, how we doing?
Good, good.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. You know what? It's we love doing these things. To get us started, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to John a little bit about his background and kind of some tips and best practices, his auditioning strategy, and then we'd like to invite you to because this is for everybody watching. We want to make sure that you get a chance to have your questions answered too. So, by all means, put your questions into the Q&A panel, and we'll do our best to get to everything as we can. We've got an hour booked, so if we don't get to it, feel free to email us, your account manager, whether that be myself or Katie or Sean. It'll be whoever your correspondence comes from. But yeah, we want to make sure that, that everybody's questions get answered. So a little bit about our guest. After moving to Los Angeles, John became involved in plays, short films, and commercials, also doing live stand-up comedy routines, pursued music early in life, and then after playing small shows with his band, became a studio musician and began writing jingles for radio commercials, playing every instrument, doing funny impressions of pop culture characters and radio ads, which eventually led to just strictly doing voiceover for more commercials. And then he found a business that he loved, made the jump into creating his own content, and for the past 7 years has been writing, producing, and directing. Now, most of the time, he's successfully doing voiceover work for commercials. The other half the time, he's running a small production company in Burbank, California. And I think that's what's set up behind you, isn't it?
Yeah, that is our little production company, Pretty Nifty. That's kind of where about 5 years ago we got into doing producing, making commercials, and it's been a ride since to kind of get that. So if you fail at everything else, you can at least do voiceover.
So, so tell us about your journey getting into voiceover. How did it all come about?
It's really random, to be honest. I always listen to your mother. Like my mom, I would watch, I think, South Park at home with mom, and she'd tell me to don't watch that, go to bed, and then she'd watch it. And then, but I would watch it and always like do impersonations of the voices. And then I got into doing like Family Guy. And this is kind of the early days of YouTube where, everybody would record and throw up, videos of impersonations. So I was doing that, and I never wanted to do voiceover. And my mom said, you'd be good at doing that. And I said, nah, I want to be a rock star. And so I did music, I did editing, all this stuff, and kind of learned all these little tools and tricks to produce stuff pretty easily on computer software. And then I got hired by a guy in Louisiana, saw something on YouTube that I had done, and he wanted me to, he's like, hey man, I want you to do the voiceover ads for me for like radio ads. And so okay. So I got into just doing like Star Wars and Family Guy, all these different impersonations, but then I would have to make the jingle, I'd have to do the voices and edit it all together. And then after that process, it was kind of like, man, I'm lazy. I just want to do the voiceover because that's easy and it's fun, and that's kind of what got me kicked into it. And then started making a little bit of money, and I was like, yep, we'll keep doing this because it's easy.
Now, did you start out with a coach?
No, just kind of figured it out, I guess. Not that I don't recommend one, but I just like fail until you get it right, I guess. So I just started doing it, and I've kept all my old auditions since I ever started, and I'll go back and listen, and just they're atrocious. They're so bad, and I was trying way too hard. But I think and that's what I want to encourage people to do is just jump in and just start recording. And then you'll eventually find your voice and see what works and what doesn't. And yeah, it's been a journey, but it took a little while to find it. So,
well, you know what? And I mean, I know it didn't take very long with us. You've only been with us it's been less than 2 months.
Something like that, yeah.
And I think, how long did it take you to land your first gig on the site?
Yeah, I was throwing as much stuff against the wall as possible. I think I got something within a week or something like that.
That's amazing. And then since then, I think you've had something like in the last 7 weeks, I think you've had like 20 gigs.
Yeah, I got my number 20 today, so I was fist pumping. So
No, that's awesome. Now, do you think, being an accomplished singer, do you think that helped in the voiceover aspect of things?
well, I do want to clarify for the record, I'm a terrible singer. I could never sing. That's why I kind of failed at music. So what I learned from singing, I went to a college for a year and they taught me speech level singing because I was trying to get better. And what that is basically learning to sing how you just talk to people. Like you don't put any effort into it. It's just very natural. And that just weirdly transferred into voiceover because that's kind of what the general trend is now. Just me talking to you like a normal person, not, that booming inner world voice sort of thing. So that helped a lot. But yeah, it's kind of what made me feel good about performing still, even though I wasn't a very good singer.
So now, okay, so let's talk equipment then, because obviously you're not brand new. I mean, you're new to the site, but you've been doing this a little while.
Yeah.
What I guess, how did you choose, for instance, like the mic that you got? What are you using right now?
This is old mic. This is a Shure, if I can show you guys a little bit better here without messing everything up. This is a Shure what is this? KSM 27. And I mean, this mic, my dad bought me this 15 years ago. And it was to record, acoustic guitars and amps and stuff. And just so happened it just worked out fantastic for voiceover. I've never had to update it. I probably should. I feel guilty about never investing in my own stuff, but if it works, ain't broke, don't fix it sort of thing,
For sure. Now, is that your studio that you're sitting in right now?
Yeah, so behind me, hidden behind the curtain here is actually my studio. I didn't have a webcam, so I kind of switched to here. But basically, yeah, you're looking at it. It is nothing special at all, and that's kind of what I want to encourage anybody that's watching to know that you don't need a $15,000 studio. You don't need the top of the line mic. You don't need the foam on the wall, all that stuff. So I picked a corner in my room, and luckily the acoustics work pretty well. There's carpet, and it doesn't take much to just get yourself going. It takes a little investment, to get like your microphone and some of the basics, but other than that, like it is not hard to get into voiceover.
Right. Now, okay, so you've got the mic. You basically you've got your studio setup that's relatively, inexpensive. What about software? What are you using?
I learned on the original Pro Tools when I was doing music, so I'd always learned how to edit like audio and stuff, and then I think I transferred into like Soundtrack Pro and used that for a while until it literally just would not work anymore. Like my computer was just like, no, we're not doing that, and then I finally had to get into Logic Pro, which I hated, and then now that I've learned to use it, I love it. So it works really good, and I think it was like, I don't know, $200-300 or something to get, but worth it. Very much worth it.
So do you find that you need any of the fancy bells and whistles that come on some of those programs? Like what are you being asked to to send to clients typically?
No, I don't do anything. I mean, less is more in voiceover world. So and I've made the mistake of trying to put effects, trying to EQ, all this other stuff. And most of the time they're just like, hey, don't do that. No thanks. So the only thing I really have is I have a basic compressor, puts a little bit of compression on it from the get-go. And my mic is just very, bland, clean. Everything's, every little bit different for every voice. You got to EQ yourself to what sounds best for you. But that's it. Just give them clean audio, and that's all you need. You don't got to overthink voiceover.
Right. Well, and that's one thing we try to encourage people. Like you said, don't add things to it because, anything you add, it can be very difficult, if not impossible, for the client to take out. So.
Yes. And you just never know with project to project if they're going to have if they've already, created the spot or, and they have music or something. So it can get kind of dicey if you want to try to spice it up too much when they might probably have a studio engineer who's going to do all that stuff for you. So what I like to do, and I encourage everybody to like learn how to edit. Like it is an absolute must. So you can be quick getting auditions out. You can fix stuff if you have a weird breath. And the studio, whoever you're sending it to, is going to love you because you saved them a heck of a lot of time. They're going to want to hire you again.
Now, do you do all that editing on auditions as well, or just on the finished work?
I do it on auditions. Yeah. I think I'm just because I've done it for over 10 years. I'm just pretty fast at it, and I'll do an audition. And obviously, like you can probably tell now, like I talk really fast. So when I do an audition, I've had my 7 cups of coffee. I'll just get into an audition and be like, "Hey, you need to buy this product," and so what I like to do is go in and I'll edit, kind of space out the points there, cut out the breaths, and so it gives it a little bit more breathing room artificially. But a lot of times, yeah, it's just helpful to clean it up, and if there's a weird sound, or if there's a siren going off, like you can kind of work around all that stuff in editing.
And obviously, we could see you got headphones on, and they look like pretty good quality ones.
You know what? I never wear headphones. For this, I did because you guys kind of requested, but I hate headphones. I despise them. So anytime I go in a studio, they don't like me because I'll be like, I don't want to do headphones. But yeah, I think these are like we got for our production stuff when we were running sound. But luckily, I had them for this because I just never use them. I feel like it kind of muffles what I feel like I can do. I always do a weird thing to where if I can take this, let's disseminate here. I kind of do a thing where it's like I'll put my hands on my ears, and then I can your voice will bounce off your hands here, and you can hear the timbre of your voice a lot easier. So it's you can be a lot more natural. It's weird looking, but it really helps when you're trying to do just kind of like very conversational voices and stuff in the auditions. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not really a headphones guy.
Okay. Now, what about when you're listening back to the recordings? I'm guessing you're wearing them then.
Nope. I just play them through my my speakers.
Okay.
On my computer. Yep.
Right on. So I guess in a nutshell, then, in your opinion, as far as somebody building, putting a studio together, it's not really. It doesn't have to be expensive.
No, I think I always encourage people to get into voiceover, and the biggest hang up people have is just like, well, what do I got to do? And I'm just like, you got to spend a little money, and they're like, oh God, no. They freak out, and I tell everybody, usually it's like spend $1,500. It seems like a lot of money up front. It's not. If you're talking about getting a decent mic, don't go down to Walmart and get you a $40 mic that's going to sound bad. You're not going to book any work. Like, go to Guitar Center, ask some questions, ask a friend what they use, get something decent. Get just the bare, you don't have to get a compressor or anything like that. Just get some sort of editing software. Like Mac comes with, I think, like GarageBand's free, so that's covered. So if you're willing to spend that money, and then obviously signing up for like Voices or whatever program you're going to get on, like it's a little bit of investment, but you book one job, it's paid for. And then you don't ever have to update your stuff unless you really want to. Like I haven't spent money on voiceover in 15 years. So it's pure profit from there. So it's not like your Starbucks and you have to order the next, coffee beans, right, once you run out, sort of thing. So, and that's why I love the business. It's constantly, you can continually make money, and you just always have the same setup if it works.
Yep. Oh, for sure. And that's you hit the nail right on the head. Like when you talk to somebody that's getting started, and it's quite often they're scared off with the initial investment of whether it be equipment, membership, things like that. But at the end of the day, like name a business that you don't have to invest some money in to grow a company. I mean, voiceover is probably one of the cheapest. If you're doing, whether it be you're a carpenter, you got to buy the tools. It's these. Unfortunately, I have yet to find something that's out there that's just kind of the money tree that you can just plant. And so let's talk about your demos.
Yep.
What have you got on the profile right now as far as demos go? Like what kind of a range?
Good question. I've been uploading kind of daily stuff here. So I when I first started, I think that's a big question a lot of people ask is like, well, do I gotta go to like a professional studio and have a guy record me, and then where do I get the music? Like, again, if you just get your basic setup and you start auditioning, what I did originally is just I would take my audition, if it's cool, make sure it's cool with everybody, but I would just take it, put a song to it, and then boom, I got a demo. And it's not, you're not trying to sell or degrade a product or anything. You're just kind of advertising more for the person, but it's like at least a start. And then, so what I have on my profile right now, I think is kind of like mostly jobs that I have done. Some are auditions I've done in the past that I was just like, you know what, that's something I don't have. It's like, so I try to like categorize it as much as possible. So it's like, what is popular that I typically book? So I get like technology, so there's one technology reel, there's like a medical reel, there's political, and they're all, they're all themed different. You got to get the specific music that works for it. But yeah, it's not hard once you just kind of be like, oh, that's all you got to do, slap it up there, and then you have it.
So you didn't get yours professionally produced then?
No, because I mean, I had just always done it myself with editing and stuff. So, and that's why I encourage, again, just learn how to edit, because that will open up your world, way more than you could just having someone else do it, or just even trying to get lucky doing a one take on something yourself for an audition, and then you're like, I messed up that one line, I got to do the whole thing over. Right. So it's kind of just you're saving yourself a lot of pain and heartache.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for anybody watching, if you're wondering, what can I do about a demo? If you need materials, email your account manager. We have scripts that you can use. They're royalty free, so you don't have to worry about any legalities or anything. Now, have you ever? I guess because you'd mentioned, you've used previous auditions or previous work for demos. Is that something that you've ever found that you need to get permission to do, or do you just say, I'm just going to put it on there?
No, I just do it.
Yeah.
No, when the voiceover police show up, I'll take it down. Yeah. But the nice thing about voiceover, because I did the acting world for a long time, and like when you get into the SAG and all the the legalities with that, because you're on camera, that's obviously more of a problem. I don't think anybody cares about voiceover. It's just like you're anonymous kind of from the get-go. So it's not really something that's heavily policed, but again, I'm not trying to encourage anybody to go like rip anything off, sort of thing. But just use your best judgment, and it's all about getting yourself out there and promoting your work. And so, ask a friend, beg, borrow, and steal, sort of thing. But just get it done and get yourself going.
Yep, absolutely. So okay, so how does your typical day start then?
For my actual schedule, I've had to change my lifestyle a little bit because I'm trying to work a lot more. So I live in California. We're 3 hours behind, New York. Yep. And so I'm such a night person, I try to get up as early as possible. So I'll get up at like 7 o'clock, and then already I'll look at my inbox, from you guys, and it's just like, boom, like 20 auditions all of a sudden already. And I'm playing catch up because I'm California time. It's already, 10 over there in New York. So there's people already ahead of you. And the name of the game is like, you don't want to be number 100 auditioning. So the better you get into the top and like, get them to like you first, you're going to have a better chance booking those jobs. So it's a very fast turnaround business. So, when I first started, I would do auditions and I'd take like an hour to do one audition, which was just stupid. Because I'd be like, well, I just want to like get it right and be a perfectionist and just make sure I get this job. And most of the time you're dealing with agencies that they don't care. They're like, hey, we need it done yesterday. Just good enough. Like client need, good, let's go. So if you can just it's not even about being the best. For me, when I first started, it was about how can I suck the least. You know what I mean? Because there might be 40 people that spit out auditions, and they're just like, sure, that one. So there's a subtle art to being like, being fast and efficient at what you do, and also, knowing your voice, knowing what works and what doesn't, and then also looking at work that you may not be right for in the audition, and just being like, you know what, they want an African-American female with an authentic British accent. I'm like, well, you know what, that's probably not me. Maybe I shouldn't audition for that. So that's my 2 cents on that.
So now, and I'm glad you touched on that as far as not taking an hour, because I think that's one of the big mistakes people make when they get started, is you overthink it and you think it doesn't matter what you do. You can look at it and say, you know what, I can do this differently. I can do this better. And I mean, you're just, like you said, you need to get them out there. Like, typically, how long now will you spend, on an audition from the time you read it and record it to edit it and send it?
I mean, I kind of go by, if I go over like 2-3 minutes recording on Audition, that's too long, because again, like with you guys, I mean, you have so much work out there. And I mean, again, with anybody getting into voiceover, there is like 10,000 jobs a day out there somewhere. So it's, and you may only see like a little bit of piece of it, but know that there's so many jobs out there that are up for grabs. So if you're going to spend, an hour doing an audition, you might miss out on 5 jobs. Because the people that are, and like me, like I see something, and I've done it long enough too. It takes a little while to get used to stuff, but if I see, political ad, I'm like, boom, I know exactly what the vibe is, kind of like what voice timbre I would go with on that, and just spout it off, like maybe a paragraph or whatever of the script, chop it up, send it out, done. I don't think about it. I don't sit there and like, oh, they haven't picked me yet. They haven't decided. Who cares? Just throw as much stuff as possible.
You know what? I love that analogy, because that's absolutely it. I mean, unfortunately, I take so many calls from people that say, I did this audition, I think I did a really good job, but I don't know if the client's going to pick me or not. Just assume they're not. Just
yeah, assume the worst. Be a pessimist. It's okay sometimes. The coffee is half empty.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, the majority of what you put out there isn't going to land you a job. So you got to do as many as you can, and the ones that come back to you, great. Don't sit there and sweat over the ones that you've done and wonder whether or not they're going to come through.
Yeah, and it's tough when people are first getting into it, because if you're not doing it full time as your job, you're like I was working at a nightclub, from 9 p.m. till 8 a.m. and that just would wreck my day. And then I would, on my phone, I could see all these auditions coming in. I'm like, oh, I can't be there to record. I can't just run home from my job. So it's tough, but the time you do get, like, don't waste time. Like, jump on it. Like, send stuff out, and then just treat it as like, if you get it, like, it is a bonus. It is not. Don't make that your income or your life. I think, and coming from the acting world, so many people I knew would do that, where they would make it their life. Like, if I just get this one job, then my career will take off. And she's like, no, you'll get it, you'll get paid, and then you'll be at square one again. So just, treat it like, a job or a hobby, and be cool with it.
Now, I know you like I said, you've only been on the site for, I think it's like 6 or 7 weeks at this point, even though you've had all kinds of success right out of the gate. Have you had any repeat business yet, or have they been all first time dealings with new clients each time?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've had like maybe 1 or 2 repeat jobs that are, I think I did one already, and then another's in the works with voices. And then, and again, I've been doing it for probably like 6-7 years, kind of, I think like for professionally, I guess, or as my full-time job at least. And, yeah, you do. I mean, it's because it's the ease of if you think about the process, there's a client, and then they go through an agency, and then an agency just like, they don't want to continually spin the Rolodex of like, hey, let's have an audition and let's go through 50 auditions. They're just like, you know what, that guy worked, done. Yeah. And so I'll get just emails and people and be like, hey, here's a job, here's what it pays, thanks. And I'm like, yay, that's nice when you don't have to audition.
Well, and the reason I ask is because one of the things that we like to stress to people is when you're auditioning for a job on the site, I mean, because there are so many clients with so many jobs, I like to look at it as, rather than auditioning for that job, you're auditioning for that client. Because even if they don't hire you this time, if you make a good impression, and I've seen it happen countless times where they'll say, listen, we really liked your audition. You're not quite the fit for this particular project, but we can definitely see using you in the future. To me, that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Because, I mean, most of these agencies, they've got 10 more jobs in the works, probably from clients or various clients. And so and that's happened with me where they're just like, hey, we hated you for this thing, but like we think that you'd be a great fit for this, and so here's an audition, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what's fun when you finally get in and start like kind of understanding how it works, your voice and stuff. Man, you can snowball real quick if you just like, again, keep submitting and submitting and submitting and getting better, better, better.
How many auditions do you typically do in a day now?
Depends. I mean, some days like you'll wake up and there's like 50 auditions and you're like, oh my God, you know, I gotta jump on these as much as possible. Some days there's like 4 or none. And so it's just kind of the nature of the beast, I guess. But for me, I'll start in the morning, like maybe do 3, 4, something like that. And then they just kind of come in periodically. So you're basically, if you are doing it full time, you're like full time on call.
Right.
So I even had a thing set up on a different site to where, I mean, there you go right now. So anybody can see that. I would get a text message anytime an audition came in. And so if I was, you know, doing something else, I'd be like, oh, gotta go record. So, yeah. And that's what it is. It's a very fast moving business. So like you got to keep a monitor on it and get in quick because, you know, sometimes you'll do an audition. And if you're the guy that takes an hour to do it or even 20 minutes, it's like you might refresh and there's like all of a sudden 50 auditions that got submitted.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I like it too. It's fast paced and it's quick and it's always different.
One thing that I wanted to ask you, and we'll keep names out of it, but you did mention that a different site, because I know you were saying to me kind of off the air before we started that you were with, you know, a different platform before you came here. How would you compare the two?
To be honest, I mean, I got my buddy on Voices, and just so we wouldn't be crossing paths now. And then he started booking a lot of work, and I got jealous. So I said, "Oh, I'll get on Voices too." But I mean, for the short amount of time I've been on, I love you guys' system. So, and I mean, I'm not getting paid anything to do this, but I just really like I don't know, the way it's organized. I guess it's pretty clean and just I don't know. It's fun to kind of come back to and kind of see like, oh, did I get a like or like what? And it just seems like there's more work on this. So I'd been doing this other one for, I mean, years and years, and I made a living doing it, but I'd have to really hustle. And now with this, it's like obviously I've tripled my business. So obviously I'm happy, and you know, you guys are already asking me to do webinars, so I'm having a great time.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate it. We do have some questions coming in that I'd like to encourage people to submit some questions. Like I said, this is for you guys, so you know I can ask the questions that I think you might want to hear, but ultimately it's what you want. First one is my name's Leandro. I'm from Lima, Peru, and wondering in what categories can I promote myself as a Latin American who can also speak with an American/British accent.
Ooh, okay. Well, I mean, again, the great thing about voiceover is like there is opportunity for everywhere. I mean, I'll get auditions a lot of time that are asking for, you know, like a Mandarin Chinese accent or language or just stuff, and I'm just like, wow, there's a lot more jobs than just North American. So don't think if you're, there goes the dump truck of the day. Apologize. I have the busiest alley on the planet, so I do apologize. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought already.
You'll get different jobs for different accents.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, again, there's just such an amazing array of jobs out there for people. So, and if you're the guy that can be that specific person, I mean, you might be the only one in like Lima, Peru that has that accent or something. And so you can corner the market. Whereas me, it's more like I'm kind of like Joe Schmo of the North American Midwestern guys. Like everyone is me on most of these sites typically. And so we're all scratching tooth and nail to get the job from each other. So if you can find your voice, make it, you know, the quality great, then like I think you'll have a lot easier time getting in, to be honest. There might be less work, but there'll be more abundance of booking work because you can be that one person that does that specific thing.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure that you do have your profile filled out as thoroughly and as accurately as you can. You know, adding the accents that you do in the languages you speak, because Yeah, I mean, it's everything's done by an algorithm. So, I mean, if someone posts a job looking for a particular sound and you've got it labeled in your profile that you can do that, then odds are it's coming to you.
Yeah, and that's really what I've honestly learned within the last like 2 weeks is when you do your demos, like really make them specific of just like, because I mean, if you go through my profile, you'll see kind of what I did. It's just like I just boldly political, like serious, like determined, So these are all these little tags that people can help find you easier. So if they're gonna do a search and they're like, I need someone from Lima, Peru to like do this job, and you're like, you're the first person that pops up. So just little things like that. Besides, having a voice that is good, or you can edit good, or being searchable, like all these little things will add up and help you get more jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question: to get a job, you need to stand out above the crowd. Is there anything in particular that you do to stand out, or that you did rather when you first started?
Let's see. I guess standing out. I think it is good when you're brand new to take your time with these auditions. Now, and I know I said like you want to get them out quick, but like at least take the moment to really look at the script. Because, I mean, I can look at something now for doing this so long and just go like, okay, I get the vibe. I know what they want. But if you look at something for the first time doing voiceover, really diagnose what they're asking for. They're like, hey, we need it's a sports spot. It's about football. And we just need authentic male voice. And so you need to like look at that and just go, okay, well, think of all the sports commercials you've seen lately. Like what is the vibe? It's probably going to be that kind of rockin' music. You're probably going to need a little bit of like grit to your voice to like, really sell the product here. Of like, what is the product? So just putting all those little elements together instead of just being like read the line like you did last time on the audition. If you do all of them the same, like you're not going to stand out. So I think the biggest thing that works for me when I do kind of more just the natural voice auditions, which is typically what they look for, is slow down. Be the guy that has like these, long, drawn out pauses in your audition, because sometimes they will just take your raw audition and put it into their music bed or their finished spot. And if you're the guy that talks 90 miles an hour and you just did it, they're just like, nope, that ain't gonna work. So, and I think a lot of people fall into that bad habit of just like spouting it off, send it.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully that answers that question, but
no, I think
that would be a way.
I think that's absolutely great advice. Janice is asking, how do you handle getting rid of mouth or saliva noises, if any, that fall in the middle of a word?
Oh man, I am the worst at this too, because I'm pretty I don't know what you'd call it, like not great when it comes to being professional. Like I'll eat a whole box of Oreos before doing a voiceover session with a client, which I don't recommend doing. So luckily, what I like to do now is like I can edit around that kind of stuff, and that's again helpfully where editing comes in. But typically, I like to just get some water, like clean out your teeth, go brush your teeth, whatever it is, just get it out of your system so you're not doing that, because it is super annoying and clients will notice. So yeah, I that's something I struggle with a lot. So.
And if it happens too, make sure you're editing out what you can edit out, and you're not submitting that.
Exactly. So make their life easier.
So another question from Daniel. Hi, John. Do you have a personal website that you use to promote your voiceover business? I have an old one in Flash format that I need to update, probably in WordPress format.
Yeah, I mean it's always good to have a website. I have a website, just prettynifty.tv, and that's where we host all of our commercials, and then I have a little voiceover section. It's just great to have regardless. I don't think it's gonna be all of a sudden get you jobs. Like no one's going to my website that are clients and being like nobody cares. So, but at least having something that you can show if someone just randomly does see a spot you've done, or can easily be like, oh, this person just looks professional, even if you're not, they can be like, sure, why not? He's the guy that has a website, the other guy doesn't, I'm going to hire this guy. So WordPress is great too. Like I don't know if ours is actually on WordPress. I just used Wix, super simple. Slap it up there, and they make it pretty easy to use. So I would recommend that.
Great opportunity here for a nice plug. Hi, John. I just started using voices.com. What's your favorite aspect of the platform?
My favorite aspect of the platform. Gosh, I just like that there's a lot of jobs on there. I think, again, kind of what I like about this site versus the other site I was using, it's so much easier to navigate. So like if someone says, if you get a message from a client, then you can immediately just say like jump to job or whatever it is. And you can be like, oh, here was my audition. You don't got to like search for like, well, what did I submit 100 auditions ago? You're like, there it is. And then it's all in one category where you're like, here's your agreement, here's your payments, here's the messages. That's what I really like, just kind of the ease. So, good job on you guys for making that navigatable.
Well, one of the things too, and you mentioned it with Here's Getting Paid. I know talking to people that have used other platforms, and that's one of the things that they really like about this site is how you get paid. Can you talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, and again, that is a much nicer feature that I've gotten off of this site, is because you any job you get kind of for the most part comes with an agent from Voices. Which at first I didn't like that aspect. I'm just like, oh, like I don't need that, But it's nice. It's kind of nice because these are professional people that deal with the business every single day. They know what the right prices are and whether they're trying to screw you out of money, sort of thing like that. And so they look out for you and they handle your invoices. The messages was just like rigging up studios. So when I would have to do all that stuff, which is fine, and then I'd have to send my own invoices, and you fall behind on that sometimes, and you forget stuff. So it's all just kind of right there on the site. And then getting paid, I don't have to haggle clients now like I do kind of with the other thing I was doing, where 6 months later I'm just like, hey, would love to have that money anytime you want to send it. Where is this? It's like it's a guaranteed pay if they agree to it, so they can't run off with your money regardless. And not that anybody does. I've hardly ever had problems with clients doing that, but just the hassle of waiting, such a long time to get paid. This is a lot faster process, and I use the direct to PayPal thing. So like every Friday, hopefully if work comes in, then it'll just drop into my account, and it's just like done. You don't got to think about it.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to ask, because I know that's, like I said, that's one of the things people really like is you do the job, the client signs off that it's done, and you're getting paid the next Friday.
Yep.
So now, can talk about that as well too. When you're trying to figure out what to get paid, because obviously a client will post a budget that they're prepared to pay talent. How does you do you have a particular bidding strategy?
I'm just selfish. I just put the max amount allowed, sort of thing. But one thing I did learn, I got a question the other day because I had put something like, and I just didn't know this about the site, because they said they do the like 500 to like 750 for example, and so I would just put it seems like a lot of words. I just put 750, and so turns out it's actually, what is it, like 900 what it ends up to. And so the client was like, hey, we only have a budget for 750. I'm like, well, that's what I put. So that's something I learned. And so some jobs you got to be just kind of wary of, like, okay, well, what is the job? If it's only like 50 words, and you're trying to book more work, are you going to be the guy that just says, hey, pay me the full amount? Or am I going to try to like undercut some competition if they're working on a budget and they're like, you know what, this guy's $100 cheaper, hire that guy. So, and that's, again, if you're got set up, if you got a good recording and you did the audition well, it's like, some voiceover people are a dime a dozen, and I'm one of them. There's 10 people that sound like me probably going into these auditions sometimes. So it is, I think it's something to be wary of for sure.
Now when you're doing an audition, because you can see how many other people have auditioned with you, what kind of numbers are you normally seeing as far as what kind of competition you're up against?
It depends. So again, if I get up late or if I can't get to an audition like as soon as I see it, sometimes I'll look at it and it's like 50 people just auditioned already. And I'm like, depends on the job. If it's something that's pretty cheap, I kind of probably won't bother. I'll just be like, next, because there's probably gonna be 3 jobs that come in within the next, hour anyways. Just jump on those. But if it's if it's a big gig, if it's like, hey, this one pays $10,000, I'm gonna be number 200. I don't care. Like I'll submit and just try to win that job. So it just depends, Like if you're new starting out, I just say don't worry about that. Just submit, just to get the practice, and you never know, you might get it.
Now, speaking of practice, we got another question from Rob. Do you do vocal exercises? And if so, what do you find works best?
Not really, to be honest, because this isn't singing. This isn't a grand performance or anything that you're giving live. I just like to get to a point where my brain is functioning. I can clearly enunciate enough to just say the script well, and not where I'm flubbing lines and just spitting into the mic and stuff like that. So honestly, no, because again, the trend of what voiceover is now is not the Don LaFontaine, in a world voice. You're not. Stop trying is the biggest thing I want to convey to everybody out there trying to do voiceover. Just be you. And just like I'm talking to you now, there's nothing special about it. I mean, it's not even super enunciated. That is what they want for the most part. Most of the jobs that I get, at least, it's they just want your natural voice, just a, clean cut, nice guy telling you to buy this product. And so sometimes you'll get specific auditions where they're like, you know what, we want you to be more gravelly or something like that. And so you just kind of adjust accordingly, but it's all very, very subtle things you're doing. You don't want to try to do a voice. You want to be you, because commercials are where the money is, and if you're in it for the money, then be natural, be you.
Now, would you say then, obviously there's a learning curve to that, because the average person doesn't just start reading copy, and any techniques that you think would be good, or just keep doing auditions and you're just going to eventually find your way?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, for me, again, it was a journey, because I was a tryhard when I first started, and all my stuff was terrible. It was just awful. I was just trying so hard to do a voice, and it was just stupid. And so the minute I stopped trying, I started booking work. And more consistently, because the biggest feedback I'll get with people is just you know what, you were just the guy that acted like almost you didn't care. You just said the lines, and you didn't one thing I don't do because I've been on the opposite side of casting voiceover auditions too with the production company, and so people are listening to auditions, and they're going to give you 2 seconds to be if they're interested or not. So they're going to be nope, 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 nope. And if you're the guy or girl that's on there hey, my name's John, thanks for the audition, here's going to be they're not going to listen to that. Just say the lines, and back to the original point, where as far as warming up or doing anything, again, just read the lines before you record a couple different times. Get a feel for what the vibe is, not how you can, have this really cool cadence to it or enunciate this line perfectly, And if you get scripts that are I'll get these all the time where the client doctors them up like crazy. They bold this line and they put breaths here, and it's kind of confusing. Just kind of get the vibe of what the spot is, and then just read it. And then more times than not, that's going to be they're going to understand oh yeah, that actually was better the way you just did it. So sometimes you'll get clients that are they'll work you to death. Say this line 50 different ways, and that is what it is. But if you're working, then who cares? Just do it.
Now, do you normally, when you're submitting, do you do multiple takes, multiple cuts, or do you just submit one take and then move on to the next one?
I try to do two typically. When I first started, I'd do like 50 takes, which is stupid. But yeah, I think again with most of the stuff that I'm doing, at least where it is more of your natural voice, I have all these little subtle nuances I've learned over time of like, so if I'm doing say like a sports commercial, I know how to just slightly tweak my voice to be maybe a little bit more gravelly or something, but it's still like my natural voice. But then if I'm doing, a spot for like a political ad or something just totally different, it's still my natural voice, but then you tweak to accordingly. So for any audition I get, I'll do one pretty much in my normal voice, and then one that's just slightly different. And I think the biggest thing that helps me or anybody that's new, I would listen to music that I thought was kind of in the vibe of what the commercial might be. You'll be amazed, like if you just listen to a track, how much you'll slow down, how much you'll slightly like tweak your voice to kind of match that tone, and it really helps. So I recommend doing that.
So would you do that like through the headphones while you're recording, or basically kind of listen to it before you record just to get the feel?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, again, I do mostly commercial work, so I would just like I have it's a whole library of songs that I just kind of like, okay, here's the technology, here's the medical, here's political songs, and so I'll just kind of like listen to it for a second, no headphones, and then it's like, okay, I got it, like then just record. But when I do like fun spots where you're like having to like play a character, or you're like, okay, I gotta like imagine myself in this Celtic world, and you're like looking over a cliff, like that to me, that's fun stuff. To just be a character. So I'll listen to the music and like really get into it, and it's fun. It's funny, and you get to perform, but it helps so much to just have that just being immersed in the world.
Awesome. We got another question come in. Is there an advantage to using voices.com as opposed to having your auditions being booked by, say, an agent, being signed with an agency?
It's funny. I had one voiceover agent years ago, and I don't think I ever booked any work through them. And then I got into just doing the online, voice sites. And then I was it took a little while to get going, but I'd book a job here, book a job there. And always it was in the back of my mind, like, dang, it'd be great to get an agent, like get the big jobs. And I think everybody falls into that trap of just like, well, I don't want to get stuck doing non-union work because then I'll never do big jobs. And it's totally the opposite. Like I have no use for an agent at this point. I haven't for years. I've made my living doing non-union work because it's so abundant. And the great thing, with voices, it's like I just did a job recently that was like just they paid for the session, and I was just like, cool, I made my non-union fee, great. But then they're like, oh, by the way, they might buy it out for a bunch of television spots, and it's like could be $20,000. I'm like, okay, like that's nice. So there is that opportunity a lot more available now. And I mean, you have not just one agent, you have like 50 agents with voices.com, kind of trying to help you get that work because they're getting paid too. And we're all kind of working together on that. So it's nice.
So now, I mean, I guess you've got like 20 jobs now in 6 weeks, 7 weeks maybe. So about 3 a week. Is that pretty much what you would expect?
No, to be honest. I mean, it comes in waves, I think, for a lot of people. Like, in another month, I mean, hopefully I'll keep booking work, but you never know. But it's a matter of like, are you auditioning every day? Are you, and again, I mean, I'm cheating, obviously, because I've done this for a long time, and I know like how an easier way to book work because I know my voice. I know how to edit and all this stuff. So it takes a while to like get but you book that first job and you light up, man. You're just like, yep, I can do this. I'm going to keep doing this. And it becomes Christmas from there,
Yeah. Awesome. We're getting a little low on time right now. So if you do have any other questions, we'd love to hear them. But before we go, one last question from me. What do you love most about the voiceover industry?
Man, I I mean, kind of like you said up front, and thank you for the nice intro. I've done so many different jobs that were like I did music, I did acting, I've worked at many different jobs, and I think I just always will perpetually have career ADD. But voices, as I tell everybody, I think I'll do voices, or I mean voiceover till I die. I just love doing it because it gives me a chance to perform every day, and it's not something that I have to take super serious. It makes me a living. I mean, and it's fun. You're kind of in a booth most of the time, but when you actually get to go to studios and meet people and do fun jobs, it's like it's a dream come true for me. Absolutely.
Well, and the nice thing too, like you said, you're going to do this till your last breath. I mean, it's the beauty of voiceover is there's so much work out there that even when you get into your 70s, 80s, 90s, there's still going to be work for you. It's going to be different jobs than you're doing now. And if you've been doing it all this time, you've made these connections with the people that are doing the hiring that they're always still going to be there. We did have another question come in from Janice. Do you keep copies of your auditions and bookings? And if so, what's your filing system for your auditions and bookings?
That's a good question. I have kept track of every single job I have ever booked on one thing: how much I got paid, who the client was, the contact numbers, all this stuff. Just in like a basic spreadsheet. I think I use Pages, something like that. But I mean, I have a list of like 7 years of all the stuff I've booked in one little document. And and again, once you start booking work, like you need to keep track of that stuff, because you're just like, did I invoice that, or did they pay, or what do I need to do? Like, so, and I'm a person that's just very chaotic in general. So if I don't keep track of everything like religiously, then it'll probably fall apart, and I'll lose track of everything. And so that's just something that I have to do. Not that everybody should do that or needs to do that, but it definitely helps. Right. But I mean, you can use Google Docs or spreadsheets, whatever it is now, and it's free. So, I'd say, and I kind of do it where you're like, okay, what was the job name? Next column would be like, when was it, the date, what was the description of the job, who the contact was, how much you got paid. Obviously that's just me, but tailor it how you want, but it helps.
Awesome. Well, John, you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure. I know you've inspired a lot of people based on your success on the site and your experiences with voiceover. So I really want to thank you for taking the time with us today.
No, thank you guys. I love doing this. So anytime, and hopefully, yeah, people are encouraged out there. Like, but get into it. Just get your hands dirty and do it. It's fun.
And for anybody that's, because we also do put this out on a recording, so anybody that wasn't able to join us live, there's if you ever have questions, I mean, that's what we're here for. So email us, whether it be myself, like I said, or any of the account managers, whoever your account manager happens to be. It's who you're getting all of your correspondence from. Don't ever be shy. I mean, that's what we're here for. And you never know, you may be even eligible for some kind of promotional offer that you didn't realize. But we do want to make sure that we help everybody out as much as we can, because it's such a fun industry. So thanks again so much, John, and thanks everybody for being with us today.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.